Hello and welcome to our maths lesson. Today's learning objective is to know how to order fractions and recurring decimals, and also to know how to compare fractions and decimals. On your screen you can see retrieval practice. Pause this video for about 6 to 8 minutes and attempt all 6 questions. Now get a green pen and mark your own work. So you can see if you've done the first one right, you know how to evaluate square roots and square numbers. If you have done question B correctly, then you know how to find rounded numbers. If you have done question C correctly, then you know how to add and subtract fractions. If you've done question D right, you know how to turn whole numbers into fractions over different values, and you know how to put them on the number line. Question E, you know how to compare fractions with different denominators, and if you have completed question F correctly, then you know how to work out the area of triangle. So mark yourself out of 6. If you have done 6 out of 6 right, well done. And now we are moving on to our main learning objective. First part is to know how to order fractions and recurring decimals. Okay, so to order fractions and decimals, we need to turn our fractions into decimals. This time, probably the answers will be recurring. So those fractions will turn into recurring decimals. So I do it exactly the same like we did on the previous lesson. So I divide top by the bottom using bus stop method. So I know that this is units, so the decimal point goes after units placed. I put decimal point on top of the decimal point because that's where it's going to be placed in the answer, and I will put a few zeros after that. So 3 into 2 goes 0 times, the remainder is 2. 3 into 20 goes 6 times, so it's 18. Remainder is 2. Again, 3 into 20 goes 6 times, remainder is 2. 3 into 20 goes 6 times, remainder is 2. So it goes on and on forever. So that means it's 0.6666, which I mark as 0.6 recurring. So I mark it by putting that little dot on top of the 6. Okay, next number is not 0.7, it's not recurring. Now I've got another decimal, another fraction. So I divide 1, again 1.000, I put decimal point on top of the decimal point, and I divide it by 3. 3 into 1 goes 0 times, 1 is carried over. 3 into 10 goes 3 times, 1 is carried over. 3 into 10 goes 3 times, 1 is carried over. And you can see where we are going with it. Again, it's 0.3 recurring. So it's 0.3, and that recurring I mark by decimal point on the top. So now I've turned all of them into decimals, and I have to compare them. Do you remember when we compare them, to make sure that we don't make a mistake, we are going to make them all having the same number of digits after decimal point. So this one has 2 number of digits, so that's what I'm going to do with the other with the other decimals. So this is going to be 0.3, and the next one is also 3 because it's 3 recurring, and there will be many other 3s after that, but at the moment that's all what I need. And this is going to be 0.66. Again, I know that there are more 6s, but at the moment this is all I need, and this is 0.70. So now I use these 4 numbers to compare them, these 4 decimals. So the smallest one is this one, 0.33. But when I order it, I use the original value of 1/3. Next one, you can see that 0.66 is smaller than 0.67. So 0.6 recurring is next, but again, do you remember we use original values? Next one is 0.67 and the largest one is 0.7. Okay, so now we will do another example, just like we did before. 5.000 divide by 6. Place decimal points in the right places. 6 into 5 goes 0 times. 5 is carried over. 6 into 5 goes 8 times. So it's 48. 2 is carried over. 6 into 20 goes 3 times. 2 is carried over. 6 into 20 goes 3 times. The remainder is 2. And again, it's going to be 8.3 recurring. Sorry, 0.83 recurring. So I mark it by putting that little dot on top of the 3 because only 3 keeps repeating itself. Okay. Now 1/6. Again, 1.000 divided by 6. Place the decimal point. 6 into 1, 0 times 1 is carried over. 6 into 10, 1s, 4 is carried over. 6 into 40 goes 6 times, it's 36. 4 is carried over. 6 into 40, 6 times. 4 carried over. And as you can see, you can spot the pattern by now, hopefully. It's going to be 0.1666666. So that means this is equal to 0.16 recurring. Again, I ordered them from the smallest to the largest. I will make them the same, have the same number of digits after decimal points, so only this one needs to have 1 digit more. Actually, I will use red one. So the smallest one is 0.16. So this is the smallest. I use the original value. Next one is, as you can see, this is 0.70, which is bigger than 0.67. So 0.67 is the next one. Next one is 0.7 and the largest 0.83, but again I need to use the original value, so 5/6 is the largest. Okay, so now pause this video and attempt read the questions. Okay, so what you should have done is again divide, turn them into decimals. So this is 0.3 recurring, and this is 0.16 recurring. Again, I want them all to have the same number of digits after decimal point, and now it's easier to compare them. So the smallest one again is 1/6. Next one is 0.33, so 2/6, which obviously makes sense. Next one is 0.67, and the largest one is 0.7. Right, so let's have a look. If that's what you've got, well done. And let's have a look at the next one. 1/9, 0, 1. So it's going to be 1 remainder, 1. So it's 0.1 recurring. Okay, so I want to make them all have 2 digits after decimal point. So this is going to be 0.5 recurring. So I'm going to put another 5 in there just to compare them. So as you can see, 0.11 is the smallest. Again, when I write them down, I use original value. Then the next one is 5/9. Next one is 0.67, and 0.7 is the largest. So I hope that's what you've got. If that's the case, well done. And let's move on to the next example. Okay, so let's do one more example. Order the values in ascending order. So again, we've got a couple of fractions that we need to turn into decimals, and then if they are recurring, which probably they are, we need to use appropriate number of decimal places. So in this case, we are going to write 2. That should do. Okay. So have a look at the other success criteria. So compare decimals, digit by digit from left to right. And then if 2 decimals look the same, we might want to put one more decimal digit after decimal point, just to make sure that we've got it right. Okay, and then make sure that we write original numbers in order. So we don't put original digits in order, original values in order. Okay, so step 1, convert fractions into decimals. So 5.000 divided by 9, decimal point on top of the decimal point, 9 into 5, 0 times 5 is carried over, 9 into 50 is 5 times, so that's 45. 5 is carried over, 9 into 50, 5 times, 5 is carried over, 9 into 50, 5 times. So it's going to be 0.5 recurring. So again, I want to have 2 digits after decimal point, so I'm going to write it as 0.55 just for the comparison. This is 0.70. And now this one, so 8.000 divided by 9. Decimal point on top of the decimal point. 9 into 8 goes 0 times, 8 is carried over. 9 into 80 goes 8 times, it's 72, remainder is 8. 9 into 80, 8 times, remainder 8. We can see where it's going. It's going to be 0.8 recurring, which is 0.88. So this is the part of the number that we use for comparison. We might actually put that recurring dot on the top in here, but don't need to. Okay, and this one has already 2 digits after decimal point, 0.79. So now we are going to use those digits to compare them and write them in order. So the smallest one, 0.5, 0.7, 0.8, 0.6. So definitely this one is the smallest. Again, when I write them in order, I use the original values. Next one, 0.7, 0.8, 0.6. So definitely it's going to be 0.67. That's my original value. Then 0.7. And the largest one, 0.88. So it's going to be 8/9. So pause this video for a couple of minutes and attempt we do. Okay, so what you should have gotten here is 1.5 recurring, and this is 0.8 recurring. So again, if you want to make them have the same number of digits after decimal point, so this is 155, this is 0.70, this is, well, this should be recurring, so this is 0.88, and this is 0.67. So again, when you put them in order, the smallest one this time is 0.67. Next one is 0.7, then 0.8 recurring, which is 8/9. Remember, we put the original values. And the largest one is 1 and 5/9. If that's what you've got, well done. So now we are going to do some practice exercises. So again, on the pen and paper, follow success criteria to put all those values in order. Pause this video for about 8 minutes and attempt all 9 questions. So now on your screen you can see the answers. Pause this video for a couple of minutes and mark your own work. If you have one, use the green pen. And write down on the side, how did you do? How many did you complete it in one of them? How many of them are right? So pause this now and mark your work. So now we are going to move on to our second learning objective, which is to know how to compare fractions and decimals. So comparing them means placing the right sign between them. So if it's smaller, larger, or equal. And it also asks us to give improper fractions as mixed numbers. Okay, so in here we've got proper fractions in I do. So how to do it? Convert fractions into decimals. If it's recurring, give appropriate number of decimal, write appropriate number of decimal places. Okay, so 4/5 is 0.8. I'm sure that we all know how to turn fractions into decimals, so I'm not going to dwell on that. And now I can compare it. So there are 0 units. Here I've got 8/10, and here I've got 6/10. So definitely this is larger. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. 5/6. In here I am going to use short division, so 5.0 divided by 6, decimal point on decimal point, so this is 0. 5, 6 into 50 goes 8 times, so it's 48, remainder 2. 6 into 20, 3 times, remainder 2. 6 into 20, 3 times, remainder 2. So you can see that this is equal to 0.83 recurring. Okay, some of you might have a bit of a trouble with comparing those. So do you remember the trick with putting the same number of digits after decimal point? So this is equal to 0.80 and this is 0.83. So definitely 83 is larger. Okay, so now pause this video and attempt we do. Right, so what you should have here was 8 divided by 9, so that's 0, decimal point on top of decimal point, 8 carried over, so this is 9 into 80 goes 8 times, it's 72, remainder is 8. Again, you can see where we are going with it. I'm sure you've spotted the pattern. So it's 0.8 recurring, which is in here there might be a problem with comparing those because this is 0.8 and this is 0.8. That's when that appropriate number of decimal places, digits after decimal point comes into place. Because I know that in here next one will be again 8, but in here this is only 0.80. So you know that 0.88 must be larger than 0.80. So hopefully that's what you've got. And the second example on we do, again, it's 7.00 divided by 6. Make sure you put decimal point on top of decimal point. This is 1, remainder 1. This is 1, remainder 4. 6 into 40 goes 6 times, remainder 4. 6, 4, and so on and so forth. So this is 1.16 recurring. This is 0.8. This is 1.16 recurring. So definitely this one is bigger. If that's what you've got, well done. Okay, and now we've got another example. So you should remember that 80 hundredths is the same actually, if we divide top and bottom by 10, it will be the same as 8 tenths, which is 0.8. So those two are actually equal. Now pause this video and try redo. Okay, so you might have noticed that this is, if you've used a short division, hopefully that's what you've done, you should have gotten 0.125, so definitely 0.8 is larger than that. Okay, so now pause this video, 8 questions, attempt all of them, put the right sign between decimal and fraction. And now you can see the answers on the screen. Mark your own work with a green pen if you have one. So then write on the side how many of them you've done and how many out of them are right. So if you've got 8 out of 8, well done. You know how to compare fractions and decimals. So this is all for today. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. Bye.